Let's be real for a second. There's almost nothing more stressful than seeing a high number on a thermometer when you're looking after someone you love, especially if it's your kid, right? That feeling of helplessness. It can just be completely overwhelming. But what if we could flip that script? What if we could reframe our entire approach to fever? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to turn that anxiety into pure confidence.
And you know what? If that anxiety feels totally all-consuming, you are not alone. There's actually a clinical term for it, right from the source material: fever phobia. It's a real thing. And this whole explainer is about tackling that fear head-on with clear, straightforward facts.
So what even is a fever, really? Here's the big secret. It's not the illness. A fever is the body's powerful, super smart response to an illness. Just think of it like this. Your body's internal thermostat, the hypothalamus, is intentionally cranking up the heat. Why? To make it a terrible place for viruses and bacteria to live. A fever is actually a sign that your immune system is awake, it's on the job, and it's fighting for you.
Okay, so here's our game plan to get us from fear to confidence. First, we're going to figure out if fever is a friend or a foe. Then, we'll get practical and talk about how to take a temperature the right way. After that, we're going to uncover the real goal of treating a fever, and trust me, it might not be what you think. From there, we'll build out your toolkit for safe relief, touch on a few special cases, and then wrap it all up with an action plan you can use tonight.
First up, is fever something we should be working with or a bad guy we need to take down? Let's get into how the body actually responds. All right, this right here, this tackles one of the biggest fears right out of the gate. The idea that a fever will just keep climbing and climbing, totally out of control. But our bodies are way smarter than that. Our internal thermostat has a built-in safety switch, a ceiling. Fevers that come from an infection very rarely go above this range, about 41 to 42 degrees Celsius. Your body is designed to keep itself in a safe zone to fight off the sickness.
So here's the bottom line, the most crucial point. A fever is a beneficial response. It's the body's ancient, battle-tested strategy for kicking out invaders like viruses and bacteria. By turning up the temperature, our immune system actually gets stronger, and the bad guys get weaker. The fever isn't the enemy here. The fever is the weapon.
Okay, so now we get what a fever is. Let's move on to the how. Look, to make good decisions, we need good information, and that all starts with getting an accurate temperature reading.
We've all been there, right? Standing in the pharmacy aisle, staring at a wall of thermometers, just wondering, what's actually the best way to do this?
Well, it turns out the answer really depends on age. For the little ones, 5 and under, the rectal method is what's called the gold standard. It's the most accurate. Once they're older, and for adults, oral is perfect. And the armpit method, that's great for a quick screening on anyone, but if you get a high number, you want to double-check it with one of the more accurate methods. Okay, get ready, because this next part is maybe the biggest mindset shift in this entire explainer. We're about to challenge the idea that the number on the thermometer is the most important thing.
So when you look at the official goals for treating a fever, what's at the very top of the list? It's not get the number down to normal. It's provide patient comfort. It's that simple. If we can make the person feel better, we also relieve our own anxiety. That's the real target.
Let me say that one more time because it's that important. The main goal is patient comfort. So if a kid has a 39-degree fever but is happily playing and drinking fluids, there is absolutely no medical reason to give them medicine just to chase that number down. We treat the child, not the thermometer.
So, if our mission is comfort, what are the safest and most effective tools in our toolkit? Let's open it up and take a look.
But first, let's talk about what's not in the toolkit, what you should avoid. Sponging with alcohol is a big no-no. It can actually be absorbed or inhaled and be toxic. And those ice-cold baths you see in old movies, a really bad idea. The body's natural response is to start shivering like crazy to generate heat, which is not only miserable, but it actually works against what you're trying to do. All right, time for a huge myth buster, one that addresses a major source of anxiety. A lot of us give medicine because we think it will prevent something called a febrile seizure. But the research is crystal clear. There's no evidence that fever-reducing medicine prevents them. These seizures, while scary to watch, are caused by how fast the temperature rises, not by how high it gets. Okay, so what about the medicines we can use? The two main players are acetaminophen and ibuprofen. The key thing with acetaminophen is that you have to be really careful with the dose because of the liver. With ibuprofen, you want to think more about the stomach and the kidneys, so it's super important to avoid it if someone is dehydrated. Now, you've probably heard about alternating between the two, right? Well, while it might sound like a clever trick,
Current guidelines actually recommend against it for routine use. The reason is simple. It just makes it way too easy to get confused, make a dosing error, and cause potential harm. It's just safer to stick with one.
And this is the most critical safety warning of them all, a hard and fast rule. Never, ever give aspirin, or ASA, to children or teenagers who have a fever. It's linked to a very rare but incredibly serious condition called Reye syndrome. This is a non-negotiable rule in pediatrics.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about a couple of really important special cases and see how the recommendations change.
Remember how we said comfort is the main goal? Well, this is one of those times where the thinking shifts a little. A high body temperature in the first trimester of pregnancy has been linked with an increased risk for certain birth defects. So in this one specific case, bringing the fever down is important, not just for comfort, but for the health of the developing baby.
So what are the safe choices here? During pregnancy, acetaminophen is the go-to. Ibuprofen belongs to a class of drugs called NSAIDs, and those should generally be avoided, especially in the first and third trimesters. Now, for breastfeeding moms, there's good news. Both acetaminophen and ibuprofen are considered safe to take.
Okay, we have covered so much ground. Let's boil all of this down into a simple, powerful action plan that you can actually remember the next time a fever pops up.
Here it is, your cheat sheet for handling fever like a pro. Number 1, for kids, always dose by weight, not by age. It's way more accurate. 2, read all the labels. A lot of cough and cold products have hidden fever reducers in them. 3, use the right tool, a proper syringe or dropper, not a spoon from the kitchen. And 4, always store medicines safely where kids can't get to it.
We started this whole conversation talking about fever phobia, but now we know the truth. A fever isn't a malfunction, it's a feature. It's a sign of a powerful, healthy immune system doing exactly what it was designed to do. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you see fever as a sign of strength, how does that change everything about your approach to care?